Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, man. This is the your final full throttle session. We've had an incredible full week of live trading and training here at Top Gun Options. We opened up the doors to our squadron for an entire week to show you the industry-leading options training service out there. Not too many other people do this, folks. They might invite you to one of their trading sessions or kill you to death with 50,000 PowerPoint slides. We don't do that. We do a little demo and we've done that all week, and we've had an absolute blast. So thanks for all the comments in the chat box. You guys are welcome for it. Welcome aboard to all of our new members here. We're going to make a special announcement here in a couple minutes. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at all we've done this week. Yesterday, Advanced Live Trade Brief. We're doing our debrief first, and our weekly options brief. Man, that's it's been an incredible week. It's been just been an incredible week going on in the world, which we're gonna talk about as well. It seems like I said my sit rep today that each day this week has seemed like an entire month of activity. Now we have North Korea threatening to light off a nuke, an airborne burst of a nuke, which is just, it's sheer insanity. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. Okay. 2 people can't. All right, 1,000 people can. So the 2 people that said they can't hear me, that's on their end. I'm going to give you our strategic and operational brief after Doug and I debrief first. He's going to go first. If you have any questions for Doug, I know, Doug, there's a couple. I think there's a Netflix one up there, and maybe something else towards your way. So Doug will kick it off. There's only, well, I don't know how many there's left. About an hour ago, before I went heads down and looked into this, I think there was like 7 or 5 annual full throttle slots there. But here's what we're going to do. Yeah, exactly, Cheryl. Here's what we're going to do. You're running out of time. I'm going to announce an option here for folks who still want to kick the tires a little bit. We'll debrief. I'll review my weekly options trade from this week. Let me get a hell yeah if, let me see. Yeah, there's a lot of my members in here. If you're a weekly options member, how many of you held the SPX trade until today? When we reviewed it on Tuesday and Wednesday, I said, hey, man, still looks like a pretty good trade. Let me see. Tamara did. Excellent. Dennis did. So, folks, if you did 15 contracts, you're looking at a $2,025 gain. Benoit, I did say I exited it. That's not what I asked. I said how many of the weekly options members kept it until today. So make sure you listen louder. So we'll review that. I'm going to give you a new strategic and operational, and then we'll get tactical and look at some trades. I'm going to talk about Apple and Facebook. Quick change of my strategic mind when I saw Mark Zuckerberg's video this morning about the whole election thing. We'll talk about that. But here's a special announcement, guys. You asked for it, we delivered. Let me go ahead and go to our full throttle page here. If you are still like, you know what, love Doug and Wiz, let me give it a flight test. Here you go. Underneath the annual memberships are monthlies. Okay, so for only $195 a month, which, I mean, hell, you go out to a nice steakhouse, is probably what they're charging for a bottle of Camus, is for the defensive track. So if you want to give it a try for a couple months, some folks do this, and then 2-3 months from now, they give us a call and say, got it, I'm going to, let me upgrade into an annual. The monthly subscription for an offensive track, which is everything we do, and weekly options instead of accelerated retirement, that's only $245. And then for $295, actually, that probably is the price of a bottle of Camus, is the max afterburner. So you want to flight test it for a couple months, folks, go ahead. But obviously it doesn't take a rocket surgeon like me or a rocket man to figure out that the annual subscription is a hell of a lot cheaper. I mean, trust me, man, I'd love you to pay month by month, but it's stupid. But obviously, each month we have to pay credit card fees and all that crap. So obviously the monthlies are a little bit more expensive. So there it is, guys. Go.topgunoptions.com/getft is really the probably easiest way to do it. Get FT, and you can grab a monthly. And if you have any questions, concerns, by the ways, or smart remarks, actually, you can keep your smart remarks. You can give us a call at 754-300-1084. So there is the link for the monthlies. And like I said, all the academics are on here that Doug's going to teach you, and our phone number is right here if you need any of that stuff. So there it is. There's our special announcement. You asked, we delivered. We usually only we fill up the annuals first before we come out with whether or not we're going to do a monthly. So the handful that we have left, I think 7 or 5 of them, go ahead and grab that right there. You guys know me. I'm going to talk about, after Doug debriefs, I'm going to talk about Apple. I'm starting to get a little bearish on the FANGs here, guys, especially with what happened today. But I'll tell you what, Doug, let me throw it over to you, my friend. I mean, we can ping pong back and forth, but we'll keep Doug around for about 20, 30 minutes. You guys have any questions, concerns, smart remarks with Doug and his trades, go ahead and fire away, and I'll turn it over to you, my friend.
Okay, well, hey everybody. I actually caught a couple of questions from earlier in the sessions, Bob and Stephen. Just a couple of quick answers to that. Things are going along great as far as the market's concerned. Trades are moving along. The Netflix trade that we talked about yesterday is actually making us money right now, which is a good thing. Everything is on track and looking good. I'm sure, Wiz, you're probably going to touch on this, but with the whole little new threats coming out of North Korea, it is amazing to me how the market is just shrugging it off. I mean, there's a lot of strength going on in this market right now, and it just doesn't care. I mean, this is the honey badger of markets at this point. It just, doesn't care what's going on out there. It's going to trudge along and head on up. It's going to be some good opportunities out there. Still going to need to be safe. Still going to need to be careful. Definitely going to want to hedge the positions, but lots of places to make some money. Now, as far as the trades out there, I know there were a couple of questions. One was from Bob, and they wanted a little clarification on the Netflix trade. Why would I sell a short if the 192 October 13 when the volatility is expected to rise? First of all, I think you've got a little bit of a misunderstanding on that one. The Netflix trade that we took the other day, it is using the rising implied volatility, but the short option expires before the earnings announcement. You have to know how these things fit together. They're not hard to do once you understand them. And that's what we want to get to. But in that trade, the short option expires before the earnings announcement. Its implied volatility is not going to go up. It's not going to hurt me. In fact, it just paid off half of my trade. So that's why that portion of the trade is there. The long option is actually a lot more sensitive to IV increasing, and it creates a rise in profits as IV goes up as we get close to the earnings announcement. So that's its job. It's what it does. So you put those two together, you mix them properly, and you've got a trade that we came up with on Netflix the other day. I'm actually really positive about that trade. It's looking good, looking solid, and looking forward to closing it out at a nice profit. Let's see. Stephen, not experienced the options, the EEM options. All right. I'm assuming you're talking about the alert that I sent out for the EEM bull put spread. Every time we do an alert, we've got to take into account how we're going to make our profits and also how are we going to control the risks. The 75 cents is just, whenever I'm dealing with a trade, I figure out what is my eject point. Where am I going to get the heck out of a trade? I want to have a clear idea of what my plan is around the risks, but I also want to have a little heads up warning. I don't want to be sitting there, some day and just suddenly be told, oh, by the way, your stock, your trade is now losing more than your risk level on it. So the alert I set up at 75 cents is just sends me an email, it pings my phone. If I don't happen to be right in front of the computer, it wakes me up and says, you need to start paying attention to this because it's heading in the wrong direction. Now, I should have taken care of it long before that, but it's there to make sure that I don't make mistakes. So I just put a little risk alert that says if it goes past 75 cents, which means the trade's failing, gives me a heads up and tells me to pay attention to that trade so I can manage it and make some assessments. That's not even close to my actual eject point. It's well before it, but I want to know that we're heading in that direction. What else? Hold on here. What else is going on?
It's funny, Doug. Of course, I got Comedy Central on in the background. At the lower third said the unstoppable rally with a question mark. I mean, it's the cheerleaders are out, but they're also the first ones that when if the thing's down 300 points on Monday, it'll say, is this the big one? Is this it? And this market's going to go up until it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for that Fred Sanford moment. I'm coming to you. This is the big one. it's going to happen at some point. I mean, there was a really good little point I saw in this article the other day that the conditions in the market right now look just like they looked like just before all of the other previous bear markets. We don't know when it's going to happen. It'll happen someday. I mean, I will pretty much guarantee you that the market's going to come down. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No idea. I mean, but we are sitting in a really resilient, strong market. This thing just keeps going up and going up and going up. So, I'm going to work with what I got. That's what I've got in front of me right now. Let's see. By converting my ultra position into an iron condor to reduce cost. I'll have to take a look at that and review that. That's actually a trade that we've got not necessarily related to this. So I'll take a look at that, Harry, and dig into it and see what we come up with. I'll have to get back to you with an answer to the ALTV group, though. Let's see. How about Larry? Thank you very much. Great comments. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll show everybody that comment in a little bit here, Doug. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry. Just Larry was saying nice things. Thank you.
Exactly.
Nice to get the 75 cents is the price increase of the options price to close. Karen, when I was talking about the 75 cents in relationship to the EEM trade, we sold that trade to get into it. So we received money up front. To close it, I've got to buy it back to close. Now, I sold it and I received some money. If that trade if the cost of closing that trade goes up, means I'm losing money. So the 75 cents is just an alert warning me I'm heading in that direction. It's all about controlling your risks and knowing how you're going to manage the trade. That's what we want out of that. So that's what we're dealing with there. EM trade, you're only getting 18 cents for a $2 spread. You would never do that trade, Jack. Why? So, Jack, if you could make, let's see, 15, 20% on a stock trade over the next 20 to 30 days, would you be happy in that? And if you were to do that, and able to do it on a relatively regular basis, would that constitute fairly good trading? Also, a trade like that, we've got a very, very high probability of success. It's, I always get a kick out of people who say, I have to make 80%, 90% on a trade. Well, you start ramping up trades to have to make that much money. And what you're doing is you're setting up the odds against you. You are creating a situation where you are going to have to fight to win all these times. And every time you put a higher probability, a higher return, what you're doing is you are absolutely increasing your risk of failure. If the two come together, there is no free lunch in the options market. You take one thing, you get another thing. So a trade that could consistently be making 10, 15% over a period of 30 days, great return, very high probability of success, and low effort. I like that. Doesn't need to be a lot of effort. And if you can mix that in with a good diversified portfolio of trades that do different things in those same concepts, you can create a system that actually makes you a nice, consistent flow of money. Worst thing that people can teach you to do is swing for home runs all the time. You are going to kill yourself. The swings in your portfolio up and down are going to basically make you motion sick. You're gonna, you get burned out, you get tired, and you lose money over the long run. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to take more aggressive trades. Your trading is your choice, but I'm going to show you different ways you can think about it so that you might be able to create something that actually produces more consistent results. And that's why I like that. Look at the symbol. Look at the, two things that I love about EEM. Isolated from the US markets and has not reacted to drawdowns or pullbacks recently. And it is on a beautiful, consistent trend up. I am looking forward to being bored to hell from that trade as it makes me money. I like that. All right, let's see. To profit from Netflix vol increasing, could you also buy a call or buy a put the same strike 1 month out 1 month? Well, we did that. Remember, that's actually what we did. We sold a call before the earnings announcement. We bought a call after the earnings announcement, and we're playing the change in implied volatility between those two to generate profits. Could you go ahead and buy more calls or buy more puts if you wanted? Yes. Understand something though. A big chunk of that call is actually that long call or long put is actually going to have a bunch of theta erosion wrapped up in it. You know what our short option really did for us? It took theta erosion out of the equation, and it took the overpriced premium out of the equation and just left us exposed to the rising implied volatility and the profits from the stock moving towards that strike price. So I could buy a bunch of long calls, and most likely I could, maybe I could make some money on them, maybe not. The one thing I'll guarantee you is there's going to be a market maker or floor broker out there who's jumping up and down happy because you just gave them money. That's what they do. We want to be able to mix the short and long options together to balance out those negative things and the positive things and make the trade work well for us. I wouldn't personally, no, I would not suggest buying a long call or extra long calls there. It's just like doing straddles or strangles. You are setting yourself up to lose overall, and you're paying somebody else a lot of money that you don't need to pay. What indicator attracted you to that? Tim, why would I need an indicator to figure out that EEM is going up? I mean, little fundamental research, little looking around at what's going on in the markets, what's driving the emerging markets and things like that. But beyond that, you don't need an indicator to say this symbol right here is bullish. And I'm not expecting it to be bullish forever. In fact, I'm not even expecting every time I decide this that I'm going to be right. What I'm doing is I'm just setting up the odds in my favor and working with it from there. No, I don't actually use many technical indicators. I come from the quantitative analytics side of the world, and we just didn't use technicals, so not really part of my game. What you see on my screen is actually what I use. Okay, why that popped up, I don't know. Let's see. Rick, bid-ask spreads. Little bit wide, yes, but I'm also very familiar with trading EEM, and it's got a very, very good order flow on it. It tends to be a pretty easy trade to get fills on. I got filled very, very quickly on that trade. And by the way, as that trade gets closer and closer to expiration, if you were to need to get out of that trade, you should have plenty of liquidity to get in and out on that one. There are some times when you need to pay a lot more attention to the bid-ask spreads and make sure that you're okay on that. Wide bid-ask spreads can equal low liquidity. You just don't want to get caught at a spot where that's going to hurt you. By the way, liquidity doesn't matter at all on the entry. It matters a ton on the exit. If you don't get a fill on the entry, no big deal. It's just didn't happen. On the other hand, if you're chasing an exit and don't get a fill on the exit, that's when it becomes extremely important. Liquidity in the bid-ask spreads will tighten up as we get closer to the expiration, so that'll be a little bit better. Won't EEM be hit by the Fed tightening? To be honest with you, I mean, this is mostly emerging market stuff here. Overall, the whole world will be hit by it, but I don't think this is going to be a direct hit on EEM as hard as you might think. Plus, this trade's only 30 days. I'm out. I'm gone. The next time that they do an actual rate increase is going to be well after I'm out of this trade. And by the time people start to figure out how much the Fed is actually liquidating of their portfolio, which, by the way, the numbers on the Fed liquidating their portfolio or technically reducing their portfolio, it is tiny. I mean, they're talking about something like $1.4 billion worth of assets late in the month of October compared to 4.7 trillion on the books. Not really a significant move at that point. This isn't even baby steps. I mean, my daughter moved more than this the day after she was born. So I'm not worried too much about that. Could it hurt us? Yes. It's also a ton of other things that could hurt us. But the point is, we want to have a good set of trades out there that have a good diversity in them, and we're going to go after them. Okay, Garrett, EM at 18 cents. Wouldn't you want a better reward on risk? Tell me, what was the risk on that trade? See, this is where people get messed up. First of all, on that trade, would you just ignore that trade completely until it died? Would you let EEM come crashing down and never even consider closing the trade out? On a stock, would you buy a stock at $100 and then let it go to zero before you close the trade? No, it's not the way you trade, and at least not any sane trader that I know of would trade that way. So the max risk on that, first of all, is not what the max cost is. If EEM were to gap down, but for EEM to gap down and go way past me and actually cause me to take 100% loss in that trade, we would have to have something so catastrophic that I wouldn't be giving a damn about my EEM trade at that moment in time. I'd probably be trying to protect my family. So I'm going to be managing that trade, managing the risk. I've built into my process about a 40% loss. The probability of getting to that 40% loss is extremely low. Options are not stocks. And this is where people get tripped up. Always when I hear this question, people equate stock trading and options trading to the same thing. Guess what? You buy XYZ stock, and to make money, it has to go up. No question about it. It has to move up. If it moves down, you lose money. Honestly, your probabilities don't actually vary much more than about 50-50 on making money or losing money in that situation. Maybe there's some things that are going in the right direction. This trade actually has room on it to move quite a bit. In fact, let me see, we're down around 43. It has to drop below 43 before we're going to make less than our max profit on this trade. And then it's going to drop quite a bit below that before we hit our max loss. It gives me a lot of room to make money and a high probability of success. All I have to have is a probability it's going to stay above the strikes. That's it. That's all I need, which is very, very different from the stock trade. In fact, really strongly suggest you take all those thoughts of, I need to make 2-to-1 profits, 50, 3-to-1, whatever ratio you have in your head. Do yourself a favor, chuck that thought process out the window. It's fundamentally wrong. It is not working in options. What you need to do is you need to understand what the real probabilities are and what the real risks are, and then figure out whether or not your trade is paying you well enough for that risk. And in EEM's case, yeah. You want to know what's actually going on with EEM? Let me show you. See this right here? This is the implied volatility. It's up around 15%. Implied volatility is the amount of money you're getting paid in the trade. You know what this line is right down here? Historical volatility. So this right here is saying that the stock is moving around at a one standard deviation range of about 14% over or 15% over a year. You know what it's actually doing? It's actually moving at a pace of about 7.5% up or down as a one standard deviation range over a year. This is a ton of money being paid to take a risk, and the risk is actually historically and measurably very, very low. That tells you a lot more than trying to make 50% return on a trade. And honestly, if you made 15% in 30 days on a 401k portfolio, would you be happy? So I think that this is a nice, easy, solid trade. Doesn't require a lot of maintenance, doesn't require a lot of management, and has a great probability for making money. Am I going to brag about it down at the bar? No. But guess what? When I retire, it's going to help me live a good life, and that's a good thing. So,
all right,
Martin.
folks, any other, yeah, Doug, why don't you grab that last one there, and then we're going to cut Doug loose, folks. This is, like I said Wednesday and yesterday, Doug will stay in here all day, which is a benefit for you as a TGO member, folks, because he and I as instructors, we don't want to leave, but Doug and I are in charity. So, folks, 1 or 2 more questions for Doug. We'll kick him out, and then I'll take over with the weekly options brief. So go ahead, Doug.
Yep. By the way, answering the questions, this is a bull put spread. Fairly straightforward, easy trade. Let me see here. Oh, there it is right there. It is a 44 by 42 bull put spread. It's got a $2 spread. As long as we stay above 44 between now and October 20th, then we walk away with a profit on that trade. I wasn't trying, by the way, I wasn't trying to swing for the fence. And anybody, Martin, I'm going to just give you a little hint on this one. Get the ratio thing out of your head. It is hurting you trading. It does not work in options because the reward and the risk side is not as easy as what you're saying there. We can show you how to do it, and it takes a little time and a little bit of working on that. But if any of you are using I have to hit 10-to-1 on my trade, or 2-to-1 or whatever on my trade, it's the wrong question to ask. Let's look at it from a different point of view. There's much better ways of understanding that trade. Okay, I'm going to hand it off because it's the proverbial hook coming at me again.
You got it, man.
I will hand it over to you, Wiz. And I guess I will catch everyone later. Did you need anything else from me?
No, you're good, Doug. Everybody give Doug a virtual golf clap here. Thank him for his hard work this week. He'll probably, Doug will send out an email to all the new Full Throttle members and obviously existing members. Again, that's one of our benefits here at Top Gun Options is, hey man, as long as you're a Full Throttle member in good standing, you have access to Doug's training each time. So he'll probably start, I think, the first week of October, right, Doug? The 8 sessions there, and then
yep.
Okay.
Plan is the first week of October we'll be kicking it off. We basically take a 1-week break after this. The promo week can get a bit exhausting here, so just kind of recover, recoup, and dive in on Full Throttle. Really looking forward to seeing a bunch of new people there. It's always great to see new faces, and for all of our regular members, it's great. We'll have a chance to go over and touch on all the stuff that we learned before. So looking forward to it.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Doug. You guys will see, all the new members will see Doug next week. So have a good weekend, Doug. We'll talk to you later, man.
You too. See you.
All right, folks. I want to grab a screenshot of this, and I want to share it with you. Hold on one second. Desktop. Larry, so I want to read this. And again, this happened the other day. We don't ask for these, but this is a unsolicited testimonial. Let me share this with you. All right, where is it? Where's my sniping tool? All right, so did everybody read that? I didn't even get a chance to read it. Where's Larry? Where'd Larry go? I love the one I said. Holy crap! Hold on one second. Date. There it is. Everybody read this. So Larry, I appreciate that. Have been a member for a while. I have, quote, invested, unquote, in other companies' training and spent a lot of money. You give them your money, watch a few videos, and use the multitude of indicators. With TGO, you actually get interaction with the pros very often. The content is never static. It changes, obviously, with the market. Static videos from other companies doesn't do that. If you're on the fence, I'd highly recommend investing in yourself and get airborne. Thanks for that, Larry. Again, unsolicited. Really appreciate that, folks. So again, if you want a quarterly subscription, it's not on the page. I mean, then we have like 9,000 options, which doesn't make sense. Give us a call. If you want to do quarterly, it's 754-300-1084. And then if you want to do monthly, the defensive is on here for $195, the offensive $245, and the max is $295. Obviously, the annual is the way to go if you're a really, really smart trader, and it'll be worth your money. JP, I saw one of your Cindy, I just gave it to you. There you go. Thanks, Larry. Tim says, true words. I appreciate that. Fish, the training pays for the membership price. That's exactly right, folks. This next week, I'm going to open up Doug's training for people who didn't do any of this, and we're going to charge, I think, $495. So it's kind of stupid not to do this. But all right, folks, let's debrief here. Let's talk through some let me give you a quick strategic and operational brief. Like I said, this is just it's getting crazier by the day, man. Today, some young guy calls Trump a dotard. Now, if you had to look that up, you didn't study it for your SATs. They're threatening an airborne nuclear test. Everybody sit the hell up in your seat and go, what did he just say? an airborne nuclear test. I think the last one we did was off a sub in the Pacific in like 62. And I think China did one. When the hell did they do it? This is horrific. China was widely condemned for a similar test in 1966. Do you guys understand what an airborne nuclear test would do? Not only to I read this, people are like, holy crap, the radiation that would drift and, poison people, the fish, talk about biting off your nose to spite your face. This would be, and it's ridiculous. Exactly, Kevin. And the super volcano that might erupt after all these underground tests, man. This is getting nuts. And whenever you say something like that as a trader, this is what you should be looking at. We're talking about airborne nuclear tests, folks, and the VIX is at $10. There, I'm going to tell you, it's not a matter of if, but when. I will be sitting in one of these live trade briefs going, I told you so, and the VIX will be up at 50. Now, of course, that might be because California is vaporized. This market is going to wake up to volatility, guys. It has to. Look at these. Look at these previous markets have freaked the hell out for the reasons. There is Jim Comey, who we all know is a felon and a piece of shit. What was this? Oh, Don Trump Jr. emails that he potentially met with a Russian lawyer to get dirt on Hillary. Oh my God, I'm shocked to know that people do that in politics. There is the first fire and fury comments out of Trump. And then here's the Steve Mnuchin or Gary Cohn might leave the White House because Trump's a racist. Look at these pullbacks, guys. Jim Comey memo? Are you kidding me? Today we have North Korea threatening to detonate an airborne nuke. I can't, I'm running out of Advil here, guys. So this is going, a broken clock's right twice a day. I get it. But come on, folks. Even I talk to, I brief my kids on this stuff. They obviously live on the news. They sit here like, seriously, Dad? I'm like, yeah, so they're all pretty smart and they don't get it. My son understands the volatility of the VIX. Both of them do. And they're like, Dad, why I can't give them an answer. Near zero interest rates. Okay. How about earnings? Earnings haven't been that bad. Where's the Russell today? Let me go through this real quick. I'll get to the Russell in a second here. But how about this, ladies and gentlemen? I am starting to come unglued with the FANGs. Horrible Apple trade this week, and I'll debrief that in a minute. Facebook. All right, here's your whiz rant for the day. Furious about this. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, is a liberal piece of shit and a hypocrite. Does anybody remember when that Islamic terrorist mowed down people in San Bernardino on U.S. soil? He and his wife or whatever she was blew away these people. The government, the FBI, said, hey, can you help us unlock his phone so we can see if there's other threats? He said no. Let that sink in. But today, Mark Zuckerberg, another limousine liberal from the left coast, says we're going to turn over all this data on potential Russian ad buying on Facebook to the government. I swear to God, folks, my face melted off today. So they'll turn over data to the government to maybe see that Russians bought Facebook ads, but they won't unlock a terrorist's iPhone. It makes me want to, I swear to God, folks, this is America now. Tim Cook, the same CEO who wouldn't unlock an iPhone to see if there's a terrorist network or anything in the United States, will lock and put Chinese government stuff on their phones, won't let them surf the internet fully and stuff like that. They'll do that in a heartbeat. But when it comes to America, screw you, America. So here we go. Let me get this straight. I didn't know Facebook ads were this effective. Facebook ads, if this is the Russian collusion, guys, I'm going to break into a happy dance. You're telling me a year and a half into this investigation, Facebook ads made 63 million Americans go out and vote for Donald Trump? This is how stupid they are? Facebook ads. I advertise on Facebook. Some of you guys might have come to this webinar from my Facebook ads. I didn't know they were that effective. I didn't know I was a Russian agent that would be triggered by me. First of all, folks, since Al Gore invented the internet, I don't even have ads on this page. I use pop-up ad blocker. I've never, since the internet was invented, clicked on any advertisement. But you're going to tell me, you're going to tell me that this is this is the collusion. And it's so funny because as I dug into this, they're not. I don't know how. Or Facebook said, well, the ads might have been divisive or caused, how. I got to get over this, man. But here's my point. If this is what tech companies are going to do, if they're starting to get into politics, this is a very slippery slope. We'll talk about Apple in a second here. But guys, if you watch that Mark Zuckerberg video, it's disgusting. Let me summarize this for you. When it comes to a terrorist killing Americans on our soil, we ain't going to help the government maybe save American lives. When it comes to Hillary losing the election, we're going to turn over all this data. Let that sink in, folks. Gerald, don't even get me started about Mueller. Mueller and Jim Comey are best friends, for Christ's sake. You're not in the special accounts, special prosecutor, whatever, it says that's one of the number one reasons why the dude should go and recuse himself. Trump, I can't stand when Trump wanks about all this stuff. I'm like, fire him. But of course, it would be this Saturday Night Massacre and stuff. But anyway, guys, here we go. I got that had to be my rant. So these guys will turn over crap, to the government when it suits the liberal causes. But, when a terrorist, when we ask for their help to maybe save American lives, Tim Cook puts on his sweater with a glass of Chardonnay in front of the fireplace and talks about privacy. Jackass. Okay. The S&P Standard & Poor's, guys, downgraded. I love these credit ratings. Look at this. China went from an A+ to a AA negative. Why am I bringing up China, guys? The FXI, I've been wrong about this. The FXI trade, I've been predicting FXI is going to be rolling over forever, and it hasn't. What's the FXI? If you're new, guys, it's the iShares China large cap ETF. Well, it's down today. Yay, whiz. I think I said to get out of this thing around here, and it's done that. The reason I got bearish on FXI, folks, is I would hope, before we fire any real, yesterday the president signed an executive order ratcheting up sanctions on North Korea. Who cares? This dude is a little fat guy. Do you think he's going to starve or sanctions are going to hit him? It's the North Korean people that are going to suffer, folks. So sanctions ain't going to do it. The only thing that's going to make North Korea move is China. Okay, and I would assume that Trump, after we get so sanctioned up on North Korea, that we would do what? We'd go after China. So that's why I got bearish on FXI. The trade, it's the first, when you guys become a member and we get into the briefs next week and we don't have to do any of this marketing crap, I'll tell you, it's a debit spread. Now, many of my members are like, holy crap, Wiz, you're doing a debit spread or just buying puts? I rarely do that. But an educated person, like a lot of you in here, would think that the FXI or that Trump would at least pick up the phone and say, President Z, you're next as far as sanctions. And Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, and the President have kind of said in the past couple of weeks, I saw an interview with Mnuchin. He's like, we can stop doing trade with anybody who does trade with North Korea. And the reporter's like, are you talking about China? Straight-faced, he's like, we will stop doing trade with anybody who's doing trade with China. And he had a little smile on his face, or North Korea. Of course it is. So, Christine, give us a call if that's happening. 754-300-1084. I'm seeing my phone's buzzing, so people are grabbing their memberships. I'm not sure why you're getting an error message. So, Christine, let me type this for you. Just give us a call right now, 754-300-1084. Maybe it might be on your end. If not, we can just take it over the phone. Okay. So there's China and a downgrade. We talked, so I'm kind of debriefing the week, guys. Wednesday, I told, when we started the accelerated retirement brief, what did I say? The market's going to sell off on the Fed's announcement. And it did. And Benoit, to your point, I said, if you're not out of that SPX trade, I'd probably get out of it right now. But I also said, Benoit, if you remember, I said the markets usually tend to sell off into the close on Fridays now. Nobody really likes to be long this market going into the weekend. Why? Because we could all be dead by Monday. Nobody. So if you held the weekly options trade until right now, you're looking pretty good. Where is it? So this is it, because it looks like we have a lot of members in here. When it went out, on Monday. I think it was like $1.30. Where are we? $1.35 or something like that. How many of you are still holding this trade? Let me get a show of hands. Okay, good. Nice. From Australia, what area code, please? The area code is 754. 300 1084, Christine. I forgot what's our country code. 1. So Harry's still holding it. Jeff's still holding it. You bet. Kai is holding it. Tamara's still in it. Nice job, folks. Is Apple going to zero? We'll talk about Apple in a couple seconds, guys. But this is a good example of a nice weekly options trade here, folks. Did what my instructor did. There you go, Fish. Hey, Fish is a smart guy, man. Nobody's gone broke taking a profit. So on Wednesday, what was it, Fish? Up 50%, $1,000. If it hits your personal, and this is the pilot and command discussion I had the other night, especially about the Apple trade with the adjust and eject. Doug and I are going to let you know what we like to do. Use that, and Top Gun Options is like a buffet, folks. Walk up to it. I like that. I'm skipping the beets. I'm going for the French fries. It's a buffet, folks. So you have to come up with your own individual adjust, ejects, and also potential profit targets. Tamara and the other, looks like maybe 50 or so current members said, you know what, Wiz, heard you on Wednesday. I signed for my own jet. I'm going to hold this thing to Friday because I do think the market's going to kind of maybe sell off into the close the rest of the week. Why were we going to catch a bid today, man? Why the hell were we going to be buying this market with both hands today? No reason. So that's probably, why we went down a little bit. So there's a pretty good weekly options trade. And for those of you who are rocket surgeons out there, or rocket men or women, that one trade paid for a full throttle defensive annual slot. Now it also knocked out half the losses in the Apple trade, which sucked, which I'm going to get to. So let's move on here. But again, I'm not doing my job, folks, if rocket person. VXX trade, Martin, I'll talk about that too. You should be holding that VXX trade or the VIX calls. Again, if you haven't heard me yell it enough, this is stupid. Whenever one of my partners up at Peak 6 Investments, hell of an options trader, that's where I learned that sentence. He's like, Wiz, when you hear me say this is nuts, come back from mentally, your conga line in the Bahamas and listen to me. Folks, when I say this is nuts, this is nuts. Peter, you sent the SPX trade recommendation on Wednesday to close it. Yes, Peter, I did at the end of the AR session. Yep. But remember, Peter, I talked about it live and I said, hey, 50%, $1,000 in 2.5 days. But I also said, you're the pilot in command. If you want to hold it until Friday to maybe squeeze out a little bit more profit, the market might sell off the rest of the week. That would be a good call too. But I did send the close on Wednesday. You're absolutely right. Let me stick with Apple, guys. But whenever I see this crap, I have to go back to the VIX, man. Whenever you see these headlines, and I briefed you earlier in the week, Fed entering uncharted territory, bulls completely desensitized to risk. Exactly how many warnings do you need? This is a great article, man. And a lot of you, a couple of you said, hey, Wiz, I didn't even know that website existed. Folks, Zero Hedge used to be just a Wall Street insider only type of website. Zero Hedge is kind of a couple trader bars in Manhattan and Chicago, but online. So I think even the SEC kind of poked around and said, you guys need to make this website public because there's way too much good info in here. So Zero Hedge has got to be part of your daily brief because there's just everything on here and it's great. So let me get going here, and we will cover VIX and VXX. But folks, look at this. Here's the Friday humor. The Russell 2000 reaches a record high. Look at the earnings per share expectation. Everybody know what the Russell 2000 is, right? I like the S&P 500. I'm not a Dow guy. That's my dad's stock market. I'm a S&P guy. I know a lot of folks like the RUT, R-U-T. 2000 is obviously a little bit more of a sample size than 500 that I trade. But look at the RUT earnings. EPS means earnings per share expectations. They're in the gutter. This is the EPS for 2017. Look at the RUT. Now, it doesn't take, a political science major like me to figure out that these two lines have to look, they did back here. This divergence is disturbing. These two lines have to intersect someday, and that's usually when we get these massive pullbacks. Look at it versus the treasuries. Look at the Russell VIX. So look at this. Nothing could possibly go wrong in the Russell 2000 here, guys. So I love this headline. I had to share it with you. Friday humor, meaning, in Zero Hedge's dark humor, this shouldn't be up here. But here's a wizism you probably heard and wrote down this week. The market can remain irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And let's get to Apple real quick, and let me throw this slide up here. Losing trades happen, and we're going to spend some time on one because maybe we could turn it into a winning trade. And I want to give you my strategic mindset on Apple. So losing trades happen, guys. It's a bad trade right now. It's got a week and a half to work, but the fangs are under pressure right now, and we got to talk about Apple. But remember, so about 2 or 3 of my members wrote this in here when I said I'm going to talk about Apple. I appreciate that, guys, because it shows that that you're smart. I use that Google example. I have a newer example, and it happened this week. In the PLTB Tuesday morning, everything was looking good for Apple, right? Apple, but I gave you my commit criteria, my strategic mindset. And then, as if God was watching and he wanted to smack me around a little bit, right about here where Wiz decides to get in, breaking news that connectivity apples with the watch, and Apple, and it implodes. Did I know that? If I did, and I traded off of it, I should be in jail, like the 3 Equifax executives. Don't even get me started on those pieces of shit. So this sucks. These are one of these missiles that if I could plan, I have a mission over Syria. I spend 4 hours planning with you guys. We look at everything, satellite data from the agency, everything. And then we're over Syria and a mobile SA-6 shoots at one of us. Hey, man, we did our best to look at every potential known, unknown. That's an unknown. I didn't know this shit was going to happen. Now, let's take a look at this. Once this type of thing happens, this is momentum. Okay, let's pound. Everybody's taking profits right now. Apple, whoever, I think it was Harry, who asked, you have to lose some to win big. Thanks, Fish, exactly. But I'm actually glad this happened during Full Throttle Week, because there's been Full Throttle Weeks where Doug and I knock it out of the park, and then 3 weeks later we have a losing trade and people are bitching at support. I'm like, what are you, new? So these things happen. Exactly, Harry. So let's also take a look at some other Apple headlines. I almost spit my coffee out this morning. You ready? Harvard study proves Apple slows down old iPhones to sell millions of new models. Let me let that headline sink in. And yes, whoever just share, ? I will share this link with you. Read this makes me, remember, guys, I said I wear 2 flight suits. Exactly, lovely people. I wear 2 suits at Top Gun Options. One is a flight suit as an American. This makes me livid. So you're going to slow down. People who have older iPhones who can't afford $1,000 new iPhone sitting there going, why does my phone suck? Oh, crap. Now I got to go take out a second mortgage to go buy a new phone. As an American in a flight suit, I want to strangle Tim Cook. Let me get out of my flight suit and put on my Gordon Gekko suit. I love it. I think that's awesome. Now, all right, Wiz, are you bipolar? Maybe. But folks, as a consumer, you want to be pissed at Tim. Holy crap. Exactly, folks. So again, 2 suits, wearing a flight suit and an American, I want to strangle the guy. As Gordon Gekko, I love it. I love it. So when I look at an app, I know, John, Samsung does the same thing. Beverly, talk about built-in obsolescence. Do you guys ever notice that, at the 4-year point or whatever, when your warranty is ready to expire in your car, stuff starts breaking? I wonder why, especially now in the electronic days when they put all this stuff in there. So guys, the cellular problem was announced, like literally, okay, so Wiz placed that trade. Breaking news. I'm like, some bitch. So the $1,000 iPhone and why there are never enough phones, we know why there are never enough phones, folks. So the Apple analysts can go, oh my God, the demand is so high, they don't have enough supply. So exactly, Pete, greed is a good thing. So as a trader, I'm going to tell you with this is nothing. I saw the interview on Fox Business, or I think it was Comedy Central a little while ago with Tim Cook. He's like, dude, I use the watch. It's a little disconnect between when you go from being wireless to maybe outside to a cellular connection. He's like, seriously, it's not that big of an issue. It doesn't matter. Apple could come out today and say we can cure cancel with the iPhone 8, and we're still going to. This is a momentum trade to the downside. So this is what is, even though it sucks, half the week, if you're looking at a max loss of the how many contracts did I do? And I have this trade on, guys, so I know it sucks. 30 of these. So we negated half this, potential loss with the weekly options gain. So that's why I strongly recommend you step up to the buffet of what we do here at TGO. Okay? Why came as audience question, not an answer? Okay. I don't want to. Christine, you can send it. Nobody sees it, so you can do that if you want to do that, and I'll hook you up if you're not getting through on the phone. That's weird, Christine. Maybe clear your cookies or something. Nobody else is having order issues because I get an auto receipt whenever the sales page looks to be working good. Steven from Riviera Beach. See, Christine, so it's working. So Riviera Beach, that's a local guy. So if the Apple people aren't happy, how does Apple survive? Isn't their phone the biggest moneymaker? Well, and Harry, that's why I'm telling you this little connectivity issue was an excuse to sell off. It was an excuse to kick Wiz into Jimmy. This is a non-issue. This happens with Apple, guys. These are momentum. Now it's a momentum trade. We can get bearish. I mean, hell, we could buy some puts right here on Apple. The October. When's earnings? I forget when earnings is coming out. So, guys, Apple right now is selling off into earnings, and then it'll rebound. This is what tech stocks do. Let me open up the Apple chart. We'll get this back on Apple, guys. I have no current members. Do me a favor, because I know potential new members this week are like, crap, that Apple trade sucks. Where were we? Let me look at where's my. Give me your year-to-date Apple gains in the Jan 19 or Jan 20 Apple trades, guys, so I can show people I'm not an idiot with Apple. Where's my Facebook? And look at this with Facebook, guys. These were Jan 18 trades and a Jan 19 trade, up $40,000 total on Facebook. So know that even though I have a bad front month trade, you can still print money on the back end. Exactly. That's exactly right. Janky, good idea. So what is the solution for Apple, Paul? Close the trade that we have right now, unless because if it's that deep, we might get assigned some shares. So Curtis, up on my Jan 19, 123%. Thank you, Curtis, for that. I'd get out of Apple. I'd look at, and again, guys, I rarely do this. Here's that tech crash. Remember this back in June, the beginning of the summer? This was like the tech, oh my God, it's over with for tech. Look at how it recovered. So now we're testing this tech flash car. Remember, it was a Friday and a Monday. There's the Monday right there. I remember that. So we're getting back to right here. The solution, who asked that, Paul? The solution is to get into a Jan 19 right now. So for all the time is it 1:54? I don't have time to do it. We'll do this next week, guys. You have to become a member. We'll do a new Jan 19 Apple long call diagonal with a protective foot. And then we're going to sell the hell out of the front month, okay? So if you took the max hit on that Apple trade, don't sweat it. We're going to make up. And Diane, exactly. If you don't have, we can also look as a good proxy for Apple is what? The XLK. I should know this by now. I want to get it exactly right. You ready for this? XLK Holdings. I think Apple is, let me guess, 14 or 17% of the XLK. I got it, 14%. So look at this, folks. Here's the XLK. It's the tech ETF. There, Apple is 14.5% of it. Then you got Microsoft, Facebook, the Goog, AT&T, blah, 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 blah. They don't have Netflix in here, do they? So they have most of the FANGs in here, guys. So a good proxy for Apple is what? Marion, they have a Jan 2020. Awesome. John, is it better to wait or go in a long call diagonal with Apple? John, good question. I'm not going to pick the bottom on Apple. Remember, here's Wiz's idea with if you're looking out to that far in the future, nobody sounded a bell, raised, blasted an air horn that said, "Get out of Apple," and nobody except a guy at a cocktail party, and that same guy probably said, "Yeah, I got an Apple here after it crashed, and I got out right here." So, John, I know one of the Wall Street isms that you hear is you don't want to catch a falling knife. If you get in here and it goes down a little bit more, it's not, folks, it ain't going to zero. Come on, man. I mean, seriously, it's Apple. They underpromise and overdeliver. So, John, right about now, I wouldn't do it, today. I mean, it's Friday. Apple tends to sell off in the close. Maybe it's got a couple more points to the downside. But, John, that's why I said, hey, for the flight schedule next week, let's do a Jan 19. We'll do it probably in the primary live trade brief, John. We'll do a new Apple trade. Okay? I think I'll get in half now and wait for the up. That's not a bad idea, John. I love that answer. Can I have the link of the annual? Yeah, all you have to do, here you go, guys. Here's the XLK holdings. Copy. Paste. So if you want to see what's in the XLK, we had XLK. Let me show you what was in AR, TGO, Options House Portfolios. Let me see, JP Morgan, RSX. Where's our Apple, Facebook? No, I want to find the XLK. But anyway, guys, we'll cover this on Tuesday. Okay, we'll get into a Jan 19 Apple trade. Let's talk about weekly options, though, guys. First of all, let me ask the new folks, my current members who are in here. Thanks for coming. This is for new potential folks only. Would you put a weekly options trade on today? Harry up Harry's Jan 19 long call diagonals up 67%. Awesome. Bo, no. Priscilla, no. Excellent answer, folks. You should never put a weekly options trade on a Friday. Well, Wiz, your SPX trade could have expired today for max profit. Why wouldn't you put one on today? The weekend, folks, and not that singer with the smooth voice. Anything can happen over the weekend. Does everybody remember the financial crisis when, Sundays we used to, Lloyd Blankfein and what's his name that ran the New York Fed would, say, hey, they'd be freaking out on a Sunday afternoon. Why? Because of the Asian markets open on our Sunday night. Don't ever put a weekly options trade on a Monday. But guys, weekly options are just that. Let's take a look at the strikes. Let's pull up Apple since we're talking about it. So Apple, holy crap, that's Wrath of God, thunder in the background. Good South Florida, middle of the afternoon rain shower here. So if I lose maybe I did get hit by lightning. So let's take a look at the options chain for Apple. When you see a month and a year, that means regular monthly expiration, the third Friday of every month. And if you want to play Stump the Chump, technically options expire what? The Saturday, the day after expiration. I get it. That's options 101 class. So here we go. No, thank God, man, I'm not in the path of Marie. It's actually out in the Atlantic. God, man, Puerto Rico. Holy crap. Those people are in a world of hurt. It leveled absolutely. Halftime report on the Intrepid. Oh, man. God, pray for Puerto Rico, man. They're talking maybe 6 months to get power. So look at this, folks. Here are the weekly options. So here's today, here's next Friday, there's the next. So you can trade our weekly options brief. I do every Monday at 1:00. It's quick, it's tactical. It's 30 minutes, folks. It's a quick brief. 1 to 2 trades, and I only trade a handful of weekly options positions, meaning SPX Apple. We were trading Chipotle for a while there, some Facebook, uh, and that's about it, folks. Why? You bet, Cheryl. I'll see you Monday too. Why only? It's funny. I had a guy. This was years ago. He's like, "What is that? I want to cancel my weekly options membership. You only trade a couple positions." I'm like, "Holy crap, man! Good to see you go." You don't get it, folks. You do not wake up Monday morning, put on Comedy Central, and go, they're talking about Anthem right now. Let me try weekly, and I'm broke by Thursday. You have got to trade weekly options only on stocks or an index that you feel like like the back of your hand, man. Weekly options are very, very tactical. These things, the Jan 19, the long call diagonals might not seem sexy until you wake up, like our JP Morgan trades last year, 35 grand in a year and a half. Let me raise your hand if on one trade for about 5 grand in risk, in a year and a half you make, I think it was up 38 grand when I closed it, or no, it was up 38, but to meet mid market, I had to render under Caesar what was Caesar's. $35,000 in a year and a half. What's that? Averaging about 2 grand a month. So, exactly, JP. You got to know what you're trading. So, folks, I get the long call diagonals. Usually people wake up one day and, like folks, current members are saying in the chat box, like, holy crap, man, these things are up triple digit. They grow. They're like an annuity, man. Throw the seed in the ground, put some water on it, and all of a sudden, a year and a half later, holy crap, Wiz, thanks for this one. That's not weekly options, man. These things are, they can be very, very profitable, or they can suck. And they can move in the blink of an eye. I mean, a tweet, a breaking news story. So, Senator McCain won't support health care bill. Senator McCain he's a fellow naval aviator, and he's the lowest form of anybody. He graduated from the Naval Academy, folks. That's a big deal. Well, he was the anchor man. The anchor man is the dude with the lowest grades at the Naval Academy. You know what the dude with the bottom grades at the Naval Academy usually gets? A minesweeper out of Antarctica. John McCain got aviation. It's because his dad was an admiral. He's awful. He rams shitty healthcare down our throat. Do you think he goes to the VA in Arizona for his cancer treatment? No, he doesn't. He goes to the Mayo Clinic. So let them eat cake, McCain, who hops on his plane and goes to get private, his cancer treated, not at the VA. The VA in Arizona where a bunch of veterans died under Obama waiting to see doctors? John McCain, piece of shit award of the day. Sorry about that. He wants Harry, exactly. He knows he's on his way out, literally, and he wants to try and, whatever, man. I can't stand that. Craig, Jack, class of 58. He really has completely lost it, guys. The guy makes my skin crawl. Anyway, weekly options, very, very tactical, guys. I don't think I've ever done a weekly options trade for a debit. I love the credit spreads because we get theta, okay? So here's our weekly options brief. Great trade this week. I'm glad people got into it, got out of it tactically for a nice one-day profit. Tamara, all the other folks who are still in it to right now, love it. Congrats. Looking at a $2,000 gain in that weekly options trade. It's every Monday at 1 o'clock. And like I said, only a hand. You have to be a card counter when it comes to this stuff, folks. You can't not that I know what card counting is, but let's just say if I did know how to count cards, you don't walk up to the table in Vegas, sit down and put 10 grand out on your first hand. What's a card counter do? You walk up behind the table and you start you count the deck. Each card has what? A plus one, a zero, or a minus one. So you have to get a flow for the deck. And once you think you kind of know what's going on, you sit down and that's when you start. That's how they know you're a card counter. Is first of all, you're paying attention to everything. And second of all, you're making educated bets. So don't sit here and say, why don't we trade weekly options this week on Allegiant Travel? I don't know what it does, and then you're broke by Thursday. Don't do it, folks. And sometimes the best weekly options trade is what? I love 1980s movies. Grew up in the 80s is what? Everybody remember the one of the best 1980s movie, War Games? The only winning move is not to play. Sometimes the best weekly options trade, exactly, Fish, is no trade at all. I will be you guys I know I talked about my losing trades, guys. When was it? Like around whenever it was, I put myself on the pine. I'm like, I sat on the bench for a week or two. I said, nope, because I had a losing trade. I'm like, okay, the market ain't doing what I want it to do. And uh, but it's whenever you tell yourself something like that, like this stock isn't doing what it should be doing, you're wrong, because it's doing exactly what it should be doing, because that's the price. If you subscribe to Dow theory and all that stuff and price discovery, it is doing what it's doing, Wiz. So you have to literally, after doing this for a quarter of a century, I still have to beat myself every once in a while in the head to remind myself of that. So that's sometimes the best weekly options trade is us talking for 30 minutes and going, you know what? I'm out. Let's just watch this week and keep our powder dry, okay? Trust me, I'd rather have no trade than a losing trade, okay? Late August, we sat on the pine for a week. That's when it was, JP. You're absolutely right. Pete, you nailed it. The market is always right. Jack. No. Jack, I'd close. I said I would close that Apple trade today, and we're going to do a Jan 19 trade next week, as I think Apple's going to bottom out. Folks, it ain't going to zero, man. As much as I loathe Tim Cook now and Zuckerberg, I think we're probably 150, folks. You see this level right here? See this kind of this tech implosion? The 150 is kind of the can I say Mason-Dixon line without be calling a racist or something? An Antifa showing up? Oh, I'd love that. So, Jack, I think we're going to get bullish. I will catch a falling knife on Apple. It ain't going to zero, folks. So around 150 is, I think, when we're going to get bullish. I'd take my losses on the Apple trade for the week. Again, right here is where Wiz gets bullish on Apple, and as Murphy's Law, that happens. I'm actually glad this happened because, it shows that we're all human, but even with a 72.6, 73, if you allow me to round up, win rate at TGO, that means there's 27% of the time where Wiz ain't freaking right. Chris bought some Apple calls today, couldn't resist. Don't disagree, man. And sold a put spread on Apple. Excellent, Chris. I like it. All right, guys. So Apple. Bad trade for this week, but again, folks, that's a perfect demonstration. I'm going to change this on my Let me make a mental note to put that. I have a fresher example. The one up there was that Google the damn. Let me just remember to do this. Wi-Fi. I got to change the slide for our next full throttle launch, like in December, whenever. That's the other thing, folks. If you don't get on board now, we don't do this. Once we get to 50, and like I said, Christine or I forget your name, ma'am. Hopefully you're grabbing your slots, because once we get 50, this page will come down, and we'll get airborne, unfortunately, without you. So don't be like some of the current members who in the past have said, I'll call them next Thursday. You kind of get the, hey, sorry, we're full. Jack, if Apple trade is very close to max loss, why close it with a week to go? Jack, you can get, again, you're the pilot in command of your own aircraft. You could potentially be assigned you could be short some share. You could wake up Monday morning and your broker, some gal or guy on the other end of the trade, could assign you those, man. Remember, it's a bull put spread. I sold puts. And if they're nice and juicy, somebody on the other side of that trade could what? When you sell something, sellers have what? Obligations. You are obligated, right? Potentially to take delivery of the share. So folks, we'll talk. I could talk for an hour about assignment. So that's the immediate answer, Jack. Make sure you sign up. If you're not a member, Jack, you should sign up, and we're going to talk about this all next week. Dev, the best thing to do, let's talk about assignment next week, guys. I don't want to idiot. I'm already going over here. Not going to talk about assignment right now. If you get assigned, pick up the phone, call your broker, and go, I want to get out of this position. Remember, folks, the people on the customer support line if you remember, press 1 if you have a trading question. Press 2 for customer support. The customer support people ain't traders. When you talk to a trader, if you wake up short some Apple shares in your portfolio, pick up the phone and say, get me out of this. You can buy them back and turn it into a covered call. That's what I usually do. Was the left? Christine, where'd you put that? In the chat box, or because I don't see it anywhere. Christine, worst comes to worst, just shoot an email. Why don't you do this, Christine? Let me scroll up. Ron, no change to the AR Facebook trade. We're holding on to that one. Chris, your track record is amazing. You only have a losing trade once in a blue moon, which is amazing. A little bit more often than the blue moon, but like I said, I'm kind of happy I had it this week, so I can show people I'm human, man. We had a great weekly options trade, and I had a crappy Apple trade. Barry, Wiz, if one uses the monthly, then one is committed to the full year, no ability to cancel, I assume. No, Barry, month to month is month to month. You get billed each month, and then you can always upgrade into an annual. If you buy an annual, yeah, you're committed to an annual. Does that make sense? Got into cool. Yeah, Greg, I get what you're saying. That's why we talk about assignment next week. It's usually Ray. I didn't send out the EEM trade. That was Doug, and I'm not a big EEM guy. That's Doug. So if you have any questions on that, join real quick, folks. After you join and become a member, first of all, there's a getting started video you should all view. But if you have any questions for me or Doug, here is our interactive forum. It's called the Ready Room. Now, the Ready Room of a fighter squadron is where you hang out in between briefs and flights and everything like that. It's kind of like the living room. So, for example, here's a Bill Covey, sent something to Doug, hey, about VMware. So, so you can get in here, and Doug and I, in between live trade briefs, you can ask questions. So, folks, if you have a question for Doug, I already cleared him off. Become a member and ask it in the Ready Room. And then, obviously, it's better if you you can always wait to the advanced live trade brief with Doug Thursday morning to ask him that question live. So, folks, I went over by 12 minutes right now, but I'm sorry I had a political rant there. Yes, this is recorded. Whoever just asked that's pretty funny because I'm going to the replay page. If you missed anything from this week, because I know some of my strategic partners just emailed for this full throttle, which kind of sucks. Christine, if you're not, you are. I will hook you up. I can't see. Let me scroll up here where you might have you put that. But here's what I was going to tell you, Christine. Just email if you can right now. If it's not too much of a trouble, just shoot us an email right here, support@topgunoptions.com, and I will. I'll hook you up. Yeah, we'll hook you up, Christine. Okay, I promise. What else do I need to do? JP, time to go home and play some. I won't read that comment. Armin, my final question here. My thoughts on the FXI trade. Armin, earlier I said it's a debit spread, just like buying puts. What's the harm in holding that trade, man? Armin, a broken clock's going to be right twice a day. S&P downgraded them yesterday. That's a big deal. Does anybody remember when Obama lost our AAA credit rating? Yeah, people kind of forget about that. Our market imploded. The VIX spiked. Armin, my strategic mindset and commit criteria on this trade, somebody red team this for me. Does anybody think that, Trump, I'm no Trump supporter, guys. He campaigned. Almost every day of the campaign, he swore up and down that his first day in office, he would label China a currency manipulator. He didn't. Strike 8 of all his campaign. He hasn't built 1 foot of a border wall. Don't get me started on all of his broken promises. But Armin, I would hope as an American, let me take my Gordon Gekko suit off and put on my flight suit. I would hope as an American, we have to exhaust all diplomatic shots before we take a real shot at North Korea. I would think, like Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said the other day, we will impose trade sanctions on anybody who does trade with North Korea. And the reporter leaned in like, wink, wink. Does that mean China? Steve Mnuchin had to have been sitting there like, what are you, an idiot? Of course that does. But his answer was more politically said, he just repeated his answer and said, we will impose sanctions on people doing trade with North Korea. That means China, guys. 90% of North Korea's trade is with China. So Armin, very long answer to your short question. My thoughts on the FXI trade. If you're not in it, look at some cheap. Look at this, guys. Go out. We 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 did when was that, Armin? Last week. Look at this, folks. We moved the market on FXI. This day brought a tear to my eye at Top Gun Options for the first time in 7 years. You see this? This is where we at Top Gun Options bought all these puts, and then I sold. We legged into it, right? This is when we sold the puts. This was incredible. If we made history here and here, Top Gun Options moved the market. How do I know that? Well, we did it live. And here's the other thing, FXI, when we started our webinar that day, let me grab my little spotlight here. You see this? These puts, the October 1340 puts, had zero volume. When we got done that session, there was 1,200 in there. Brought a tear to my eyes, guys. TGO made and moved a market in this. So, Armin, again, very long answer. I could be completely wrong, guys. That's why I'm asking for your thoughts here. Before we go, let me see into China back. Also, China stopped trade with central banks to North Korea. That's exactly right, guys. So, does anybody? Am I wrong? I need to be red teamed on this, guys. Does anybody think that Trump isn't going to try and at least swing at China one more time before we go to war? Am I wrong? The power of TGO, exactly. The power of this fully operational Death Star. So, yeah, but whoever was asking about the Apple trade, yeah, you could always just close, the short puts and hold the long puts as hey, Apple's just going to keep imploding with. Yeah, you could kind of leg out of it and maybe get it back to break even. So. Yeah, Jeff, I saw that. That's pretty funny. We're and the open interest is what, 1,600? That's pretty awesome, guys. Sorry I went long. So I will see many of you Monday morning for the week. Monday afternoon at 1:00 Eastern for the weekly options brief. Christine, shoot us an email. I'll hook you up. And folks, when this page is down, if you did not grab your slot, maybe we'll see you some other full throttle. Like I said, we're going to get airborne Monday with our 50. We'll close it at 50, guys, and you're welcome. We'll close it at 50. So, folks, had a great week. Hopefully you can tell Doug and I are very passionate about what we do here at Top Gun Options. This is industry-leading training. A lot of folks in the financial training, well, let's use this word, financial education, it's snake oil and they're not around. Larry's comment earlier, I really appreciate that, Larry. This is Doug's an Army guy. We made fun of him. I'm a Navy guy. We use that military methodology, man. Demo do. The only way you're going to learn is by doing here. So, and everything, nothing static. I appreciated that comment, Larry. You can go pay what you pay for an annual membership here somewhere else, get some training videos from 3 years ago, and that's about it. And you want to put a bullet in your head. So a lot of people, like I said, who have been here for years and years and years, they kind of get pissed at themselves. I don't know how many testimonials I have from people going, where the hell you been? Or, I spent so much money other places, I'm livid, I finally ended. Well, you're here now. Okay, so welcome aboard to all of our new, thanks, Dave. Welcome aboard to all of our new Full Throttle members. Once this page is down, guys, we're done with our 50 slots. I plan on seeing 50 plus all of our current members who are in the weekly option service. Remember, if you do defensive, you don't get weekly options. You get accelerated retirement. If you do offensive, you get weekly options. And obviously, usually, it's going the same way it's gone with every past Full Throttle launch we do. About 80 to 85% of the new members do the max, okay? So the special announcement from today, we got quarterlies. You have to call or email if you want a quarterly subscription. Otherwise, the monthlies and annuals are on here, okay? You're welcome, folks. Awesome. Thank you for the compliments. Even if you didn't sign up, hopefully you got something out of this week. I mean, I hear from my members and especially my marketing team, like, dude, you give away way too much stuff. Like I said, folks, military guy, when we make it up, we put the ladder down, man. You reach down and you help somebody. You don't do the Wall Street, pull the ladder up and say, I got mine. So, if, nobody asked it this time around, but I usually get that stump the chump jump guy. It's like, oh, why don't you, if you're so good, why don't you do this on your own? I'm like, I did. I ran a $3 billion firm in Chicago, the largest volatility arbitrage firm in the world. I did it. Nicholas, you are great. Thank you very much. Patrick, was the best full throttle week. Been through a few of them. Glad to be a member. Thank you, Patrick. Your rants, Jim Lee, your rants keep me alive. Awesome, guys. Thanks from the mountains of Montana. Mark, we might be all heading there pretty soon, man. If I'm going to bring my AR-15s, my gold, and my kids up to Montana with you, Mark. So, all right, guys, I'll get the replay out here shortly. Other than that, we're going to be closing the squadron here unless you got your full throttle slot. So have a great rest of your day, folks. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. God bless, and welcome aboard to all of our new full throttle members. And I'll see you Monday at 1 o'clock.